Welcome to episode 121 of Broad Street Hustle. I'm your host, Tommy Nanny, with a great show on tap for tonight. We're going to cover a little Phillies baseball as they play their third game of a three-game series against the Braves. They split the first two, and I think they're currently down 2-1 as we speak. Not 100% sure. Then we're going to move to Saratoga's big weekend. It's Travers weekend, and we're going to cover the all grade one pick five that culminates with the Travers. It's a very good field this year. Actually, all the races came up pretty good, except probably the first one, but they all came up pretty good, and we're gonna give you all the action. I'm gonna go around the horn with who I have. I got my co-host Jason Sienna.
Hey, Tom, what's up?
Jason, how are you? We got Jimmy the Chaw,
Let's see how this show goes. Could be interesting.
and of course, when we're talking Saratoga, the one, the only Jimmy D.
Thank you, Tommy. It's always a pleasure to come back to the Broad Street Hustle.
I think the last time you were on, I was not on, so I think this might be the first Saratoga show I
I
have
missed
this
you,
year
Tom,
with
a
you,
couple
with
of
that
times.
on
I
the
think. I
portal.
think you said in Disney World, right?
Yeah, we were in Florida. I think I was sick, or some of my kids were sick. Somebody was sick, but yeah, last time we were in Florida, I was in Disney. So it's gonna be good. It's the big weekend, so this is the weekend to do it. It's Travers weekend. But first, we are gonna cover Phillies baseball. But as always, before we kick it off, we want to give a word to our sponsor, Giovannina's Pizza. Tried the rest, now try the best. As I've been saying, it's fantasy football season. So when you have all your boys over for a draft, why not give Giovannina Pizzas a try? It's second location down the shore. All right. We've said we're gonna cover Phillies baseball, specifically Phillies Braves. Jason, as always, we kick it off to you to give your thoughts for the first two games of the Phillies series, and then pretty much anything else.
Yeah, I mean, game one was hard to watch. Wheeler pitched well. He threw one bad ball to Ozuna. But he gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. Not supposed to lose that game, but they just couldn't hit. They struggle hitting. The top of the order was awful. And I mean, Schwarber, I don't think he made contact with a ball in that game. Harper was bad. Turner hit a couple bulls hard, but he just got some bad luck outs. Last night they started out slow again hitting, and then they finally started to play some small balls, some moving runners. The problem with this team is, and it's never going to change. And I don't mind when it's Schwarber and Harper doing it because they're your power hitters. You want them to swing for the fences, but when you have guys like Bryson Stott with swinging for the fences, popping balls up. That's what kills me about this team when guys like that do that. Tonight we're halfway through the game. Sanchez is struggling, but he's only given up 2 runs so far. But they got to start winning these games against these playoff type teams. I mean, if you look at their record, they beat some bad teams, and then other than the Dodgers, they've been struggling against good teams. So I don't know. I'm starting to lose some confidence in them. I totally think that the staff is going to be short in the playoffs. I'm not a fan of their staff. I think Nola again last night. I mean, he pitched okay, but he had a lot of runners on base. He only went 5 innings, so to me, he's a number 3 anymore. But the one thing I wanted to bring up, I wanted to see what you guys thought of this is, and maybe this is, I don't know if you guys are watching in the background or not, but Weston Wilson they put him at third base tonight, and he's not looking good at third base. But I think the guy has played himself onto the roster when Hayes comes back. And I think the guy that needs to go, and I don't care if it's lefty, righty, I don't care. Brandon Mark is a disaster. He is his strikeout rate is 40% right now. I mean, you can't have it. You can't have it. He's not helping the team. And I would send down Marsh, and I would keep, if he's got options. I don't know if he has options. I would keep Wilson here. And then the other move I've been saying is I think Marshawn needs to come up, and I think Stubbs needs to go. I don't know what you guys think about those things, but I think the team needs some kind of shakeup, and I think those are two candidates to do it.
Yeah, we talked about the Marshawn Stubbs stuff. So, Chalky, what's your thoughts? I mean, Jace brings up a point with Marsh and Weston Wilson. I mean, Weston Wilson, you give him more opportunities. Is he going to continue to do what he did in the last few games? But what do you think?
I mean, I'm fine keeping him in the rotation like they have. I don't know if he's like an everyday starter, but I mean, he certainly earned at the plate the chance to see more
Well,
hits.
The question is, once Hayes comes up, somebody has to. You got to.
Somebody's gotta
unless
go,
you drop
yeah.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Unless you drop
I'll be fine sitting Marsh. I mean, I get, can you say if you can't send Marsh down, that does make it a little tough, but I think Marsh needs time to work on whatever and not be on the field or at the plate, I think. And I mean, because Jason mentioned that the stat on the strikeouts is only 40% because I don't think he struck out last night or whatever. It was up to like 46 at some point. So he got that down. And, look, he got the game winning RBI last night with a sacrifice or ground out or whatever it was. But when you're striking out 46% of the time, I mentioned before, like, those guys at the bottom of the order don't have to be smashing home runs if they're at least making productive outs. All right. So that was a productive out last night. But this team is going to go the way that your three stars go. And we talked about it last week. I mean, as of right now, if my math is correct, they're the first three hitters are 2 for 28 in the series so far with 1 walk and 2 RBIs. I mean, unless everybody else in the lineup hits, that's not going to cut it because you can play small ball with 7, 8, 9, but if you're loading the bases and 1, 2, and 3 can't get them over or can't get them home or can't pop a double and get 2 or 3 runs home, you're not going to win these games. They're not going to consistently win 2-0, 2-1 games in the playoffs. So, I mean, to me, it's if your top 3 guys are all in a funk, the pitchers your pitchers have to throw up a 0. They got to be throwing shutouts because you might get 1 run. Now, their last 4 runs have all been on sacrifice or ground out or fielder's choice. They have 1 like legit hit RBI, which was Real Muto's in game 1. So, I mean, they're not hitting and they're not putting together, productive innings for the most part. And I certainly don't trust that they're going to be able to nickel and dime 3 runs and win these games 3-2. Like the guys that have the power, your stars, they got to be hitting. And I can't criticize the pitching too much this series. Alvarado just looks totally gone. He's got I don't even know if you can put him out there after the way he looked the other night. I would have liked to have seen him, and maybe they did try, but I mean, Neris got released. If you're looking for a 6-inning guy, he might have been as good as anybody to give a shot to. But I think he's going to Houston.
Yeah.
But Alvarado now, I don't trust him to come in the 6th inning. So it's, if you're only going to score 2 runs, you better have the bullpen shutting them down. And now you have 1 less arm that you can trust in any situation. So it's not a good spot. And they got a month to get things figured out, but they're in a spot now where they might have to play the wild card series. You want to play Atlanta in the wild card series with Fried, Sale, and Lopez? That's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I tend to agree that they're big guy. I feel like Harper's been getting a little bit of a pass over the last. I mean, it's been a while now where he's been banned. He had a stretch where I guess he got better there, but then he went back to be bad. And I mean, and Jason always says, and Turner gets inconsistent again. Now he's going through his lull where he does absolutely nothing. I mean, his biggest plays in the last couple games are beating out double plays. So it's not a double play and he's on first base. I mean, that's been his biggest play. So the big guy's got to hit. I mean, and Schwarber too right now is like Jason said, he was 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts. And then I think he had one hit yesterday and a ground out RBI. I don't think anything as of yet. So, I mean, Bohm's been kind of bad. I'm assuming that's why he's sitting tonight to kind of give him a breather and think about it. So, I think all that stuff's important that you're saying, Jason, but at the end of the day, they win with the top 4 or 5 guys, top 4 guys, or they're going to lose. And, I mean, if if they play a wild card, it's because they really didn't finish strong at the end of the season, which also scares me. Because right now, they're for all intents and purposes up 2 games on the Brewers with the tiebreaker. So if the Brewers do pass them, it's because they're not playing that well either, and that makes it even more scary.
They got 3 head-to-head
But yeah, Jason.
starters, so they can make that up real quick if they keep playing like this.
But yeah, Jason said it. I definitely are starting to wane on my confidence that I've had in them. And what looked like a slump is starting to carry over further than it should. And again, I mean, this team did it in 22. I mean, they had 2 separate 5-game losing streaks in September. The year they went to the World Series. Last year, we know how poorly they started again and picked it up. So, I mean, they have the propensity to do it, and they also could turn it around in the blink of an eye. So, you want to say the hot team does well, but this team is not the typical like baseball team that we've seen in years past. But it still doesn't mean doesn't give me confidence. I rather just be playing better and not have to worry about that, not having to turn a switch on. Jimmy D?
I must be the contrarian of the group. Last year I was down on the Phillies, and mistakenly so. I did it because they had injuries at the beginning of the season. Harper was going to be out, Hoskins at that time, and I didn't think they were going to win 85 games. I was wrong. And yet this year, I think we're too predictive of the sky is falling. I don't believe that on this team, one iota. We talked about their records against other teams, and they're 5-1 against LA, 4-2 against St. Louis. They're 3-0 against the Brewers. They're 5-1 against San Diego and 4-2 against the Mets. Okay, I've left some things out. They were 0-3 against the Yankees. But my point is, against 24 teams played, 14 with winning records that they have beaten. 14 teams with winning records they have beaten. 1 is a tie because it was a 1-1 series, and 9 was a losing record. I understand that lately they've been pathetic. Since the All-Star game, they've really, guys, I mentioned, Tommy, you weren't here when you were absent, that I thought a little bit of a swoon would be good. Not a collapse, but a swoon. It's a gut check time, and I think a team needs that. Everybody needs that. The stock market, when it's rolling, always has a correction at some point in time. And I figure this to be the Phillies' correction. This team is on a pace to win 96 games. They're 74-52 as we sit. They're playing 587 baseball. I don't know what the problem there is. In 76, they won 101 games. In 2011, they won 102 games. They're going to get damn close to that this year. This is 1 year. And I think, Tom, you used to get on me for this. Schwarber's going to be your leadoff hitter. You're right. They're not changing. And at this point in time, you're dancing with the lady you took, Daddy. Let me tell you something. And I just want to make one other point so the producer of this show knows that I pay attention. I will not make any comments about fat relievers that cannot throw a pitch. So I'll stick to what I know best, horses. But in the meantime, I just think the Phillies they're okay. They'll be okay in the playoffs. I don't see the problem. If they right this ship, they're going to have home field, and they should have home field in a bye. So what's the problem?
Okay. Anything else before we move on to Saratoga? Jason, do you have anything to counter with what the boys said?
No, I hear what Jimmy's saying. I agree. I do think, against the American League, they really struggled. So yeah, I guess the only other thing I will say is, I do have a little concern with Estevez as the closer, and the problem I think you have with him is he's not a strikeout guy, right?
He pitches to contact.
Pitches to contact, so that's
And they
gonna
get
cause
crap hits off of that's been happening. They've been getting these like jam shot hits and stuff. I mean,
But
with Murphy last night.
you can't walk people if you're pitching to contact,
Yeah.
right? So that's going to be hairy because he's not going to strike a lot of guys out, and I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree.
The other
I
thing
agree with
with him too that maybe gives me a little bit of concern is that he's what, 32 or whatever. It's not like he's been closing for 10 years and he's never,
Right.
when the Angels have been a bad team for a lot of years. They're bad this year. So these, he's closing, but these aren't bright light, high leverage, high pressure situations for a regular season. Can he do that under, there's no reason to say he can't, but this is the first time he's getting tested with this kind of stuff. So, last night I wasn't watching the game live, but I'm following on the phone and I'm like, okay, 2 guys on. And literally, as the words "we're pulling out of here to win" are said over the loudspeakers, I see that they won the game. I don't know how the last play came on, but it was like almost fate, if you will. But I'm sitting there like they're going to blow this game just because. I mean, that's the way, he gave up, he blew it would have been 2 blown saves in a row, right? Because he blew the Washington game. Like, if they came back and won, But, I mean, maybe he just needs to work through a little bit, but that's an untested piece of his repertoire and that, or his history, that he hasn't had to close for a big team. And we can add another strikeout to Marsh's total as we like the live.
Yeah, I saw it.
Hey, Tom, just one
it.
thing I'd like to add. The Phillies are 12th and 18 since the All-Star break. And I get it. I understand that this is a reason for concern. And listening to this broadcast, these guys were right. Jason was screaming for a pitcher. Mika was screaming for, they were right. We could have used every one of those things. But in that 12th and 18 spread, the Phillies have started Phillips, Allard, Walker, and even Kerkering in that time. Think about that. These are guys that are never going to start in the playoffs. They're not even going to see Kerkering will as a reliever, but they're not going to see the field. So I'm not so sure we should be, the sky isn't falling, not quite yet.
Yeah, I think, and then we'll move on. I think what's the concerning part is the warts that they showed in 22 and 23, where their bats just completely go silent, and you could see it. The second they start swinging at ball, they start chasing balls and not working the zone. That's when they go cold. Harper does it, he doesn't swing at strikes. Turner does it, doesn't, and that's over the 12 and 18. It wasn't just pitching. I do think the pitching didn't keep them in games that let them get away or they got down early, but their bats went back into the toilet in what we've seen against Houston, what we've seen against Arizona. And I think that's where the concern is, that, we thought it was corrected when we got off to a historic start. And now you see that it's really just that same team. And I mean, that team could be good enough to win the World Series, but it's not that same level of confidence that you had in the beginning.
But if you're watching video, if you're an opposing team watching video, would you ever throw a fastball anywhere near the strike zone to this team? Ever?
No, they chase pitches. They chase.
I would never do it.
Not if I have them off balance or swinging at ghosts.
Turner,
they just can't hit.
Turner just throw a breaking ball on the first pitch of the at bat every time, because he swings as hard as he can straight down the middle, and lets with the one arm like he does every time.
It's like
never. I would never.
Victorino used to always take the first pitch. He could throw 100 miles or 95 down the middle of the plate. He was taking it. So it's like just give one away, throw a breaking ball down, and let Turner chase it.
But I mean, you watch Harper missed 2 fastballs down the center of the plate. He missed 2 fastballs. They're just and that's not going to continue. But
no,
I don't know. So I think that, like Jason said, that the confidence that you had here at the beginning of the season that was high. I mean, Jimmy D, you sound like you're still there. And I find you poll 99% of the people, I can't imagine their confidence level be what it was. And of course, losing will do that. But, I just think from years past, you start to get those nightmares back. But all right, let's move on, because we want to talk Saratoga. So that was the Phillies. We're moving on to the Saratoga Travers weekend. We're going to cover the late pick 5, which is all grade 1 races, which is just phenomenal card. Is race 9 the only? Is it only grade 1s tomorrow? Actually, now that it's no other stakes races, right?
Yeah, they're all grade 1s.
No.
Is it always like that?
No.
I thought.
No.
I think the last 2 years, because they moved the personal ensign got moved.
Yeah.
I think starting last year to Friday, right? Friday used to be all New York bred stakes, and then I think last year they changed that up. So I don't even know how many stakes are being run tomorrow, but the personal ensign is tomorrow instead of Travers Day.
Yeah. So I thought that looked a little different. But all right, let's jump to the first race, which is race 9. It's a glass off. It's a mile and a half on the inner turf, sword dancer. This is probably the worst of all the races. I mean, it's just a small field, and it looks like only 2 horses can win. Usually, when we talk about these types of races and we say only 2 horses can win, Chad Brown is generally the trainer of those horses. We have a little bit of a difference today where Charlie Appleby is starting to take over a little bit of the Chad Brown, talk. So, Jason, as always, we'll start with you to kick off the pick 5 at Saratoga.
Yeah, so like you said, I mean, this is a 2-horse race for me. It's just going to be interesting to me to see like which horse is going to go to the lead. The 2 measured time for Appleby and Buick, or the 4 Silver Knot for Appleby and Pratt. I'm definitely using both, but I'm going to side with as my top choice 2 measured time. He seems to be more of a grade 1 animal to me. I don't know. I mean, maybe Silver Knot just didn't run in grade 1 enough grade 1 races for me to say that yet. So it seems like measured time is run in a little, with a little better company. And then I just think Buick is probably the best jockey in the world. So I'll side with measured time if I have to, but definitely using both of them in any multis I do.
Yeah, and I'll just kick it off next and I'm not going to take much time. I'm pretty much echo what Jason said. A 2-horse race, you know, I don't know if Appleby has those same type of games as Brown does, where you don't know. Sometimes the horse that don't look like it's going to go to the lead goes to the lead and sets up for another horse, vice versa. So, it does look like, I don't know. I think Buick's actually just going to take it to Pratt, and he's the one that's going to go. But I would give Measured Time the edge as well. For he kind of exploded his first time North America. He's coming back, and should top that number. But you kind of be stupid if you're playing to pick 5 and not going to back up with the 4, or vice versa if you're using the 2. One thing I found interesting is maybe you want to split those horses with the 1 Soldier Rising for second,
Yeah.
and maybe try to boost up an Exacta, whoever you do like on top. I mean, they easily could run 1-2, but when you look at he's 50% of the time he's running second in races. So
4 straight seconds in grade 1 races.
yeah, I mean that's so if you really want, and I'm sure the odds are going to dictate that Exacta is not going to be great either, but it'll be better in a 2-4 Exacta. Chalky.
Yeah, there's only 2 horses that can win, and I am going to be stupid and single one of them. And I'm only going to use measured time. I just think there's other races where, I don't see Super Bombs winning, so I'm going to single here, and it'll be a pick 4 if I get knocked out. But to the point you made about, the games that Brown plays, I don't think it matters who gets the lead. I think the other one will be close, and I don't think Buick is flying across the Atlantic to play games. So he's going to ride the horse however he thinks is best, and I think he is the best turf rider that is in the country when he's here, with all due respect to Pratt, and I'll single the 2.
Yeah, Jimmy D, finish this off there.
I'd hate to start the broadcast off with a pick 5 that we all get knocked out because we all like the 2 and the 4. But, one thing I'll say about Travers Day, bombs away on Travers Day. Do I see a bomber in this race? No. The only thing I'll differ with is I would put the 4 on top of the 2. For almost the exact opposite, Chalky, that you have said, simply because as good as Buick is, Pratt's owned stake races at Saratoga in 2024. And this is right up his alley. Appleby had thought enough of Pratt to put him on his horse. And he seems, as a 4-year-old, he's undefeated. So it seems like he's getting better. He hasn't really crushed the grade 1 yet, but I really think he's in career form. He's had some nice workouts here. I kind of it would be 4-2 for me rather than 2-4. And you're right about that 1 horse. He loves the run. He ran 11 seconds. That's crazy. Sometimes horses are herd animals. They don't want to go ahead of another animal. They want to stay behind. Mm-hmm. And this horse obviously doesn't want to front anybody. He's lost by heads, by necks, by noses. It's strange. But he might be a consideration if you put an exotic in there.
Yeah, I mean, plus turf races, like, you don't usually see horses that you don't see 1-2 finish 1-2. The first this pace setter and who's ever stalking like, and that's how Soldier Rising runs. He's going to be coming from way back, or pretty far back. It's only what 5-6 horse field, which makes it even more likely that he's going to be running faster than maybe the second place horse going, coming around the turn. So yeah, I think that's good. And then to Jimmy's point, I mean, you could argue Silver Knot, and since he's 4, he's undefeated, but you could also argue that since Pratt took over, he's undefeated as well. I mean, Pratt's 3 for 3 on the horse, so a lot of good things but yeah, no question that they're the 2 horses that are going to get us through this leg. All right, let's move on to race 10 at 7 furlong, the Ballerina, which again is a grade 1. This is a little tricky of a race. Chalky, we'll move to you first.
So I'm gonna use 2 horses here, and it's not gonna be that tricky because it's the 3 Vava and the 5 Skilla or Skyla, however you say it. I'm leaning a little more towards the 5 in the sense that it's an interesting move for Mott. He's been running her around 2 turns. Sent her out to Del Mar to run against Adair Manor. She ran second there. Now cutting back, and she's got a couple. She hasn't run this short since her maiden, but she's got a couple nice 1-turn races from earlier in her career at Churchill and at Gulfstream. So, Vava's the best on the numbers and the best on the sheets, and she could obviously win this by a few lengths. But I guess I would make the 5 my top choice to try to get a little price, but it's 3-5 for me. I mean, and Society would be the other one, but I'm never on Society in the right race, so I'm not going to pick her. I'm just going 3-5.
Okay, and in tradition, I'll go second here because I kind of echo a lot of what Chalky just said there. Yeah, I mean, you got to use the 3. It's IRAD, it's DeVoe, it's best horse, best numbers. I mean, that's just silly. That to Chalky's point, to Skilla, that was a puzzling race that Mike Smith rode because Adair Matter is a pure speed horse. And the fact that Skillia took it to her and took the lead, if you watch that race, you almost thought that because Adair Manor does not usually win from off the pace. So, and Skillia, so Mike Smith rode that horse a little bit different than typically does. Now, in the end, Adair Matter did win. So you either credit Adair Matter or you take a point away from Skillia. But, I just think it did pump a little speed. Now they're cutting back. Society's going to be on the lead, and that horse I think is going to be probably right there. Now, Society will probably run off a little bit more. I know that 8 Money's Gold has a lot of speed as well, so you might get speed there. But either way, I think the 5 is going to sit kind of right off, and it's going to make the run. I am going to still use Society, though, because speed at Saratoga has just been dominating. Money's Gold doesn't always fire on the lead, so there is a situation where 4 could be sitting by herself around 7 furlongs. And what that could do at Saratoga. So I was 3, 4, 5. Jimmy D.
I'm gonna echo some of that, Tommy, but this Baja, Sherry DeVoe thinks it's the best horse in her barn. I heard her say that the other day at one of the symposiums. Of course, Sherry DeVoe is not Jimmy DeVoe. Jimmy DeVoe is much better than her. And who is she, Chalky? Who's Jimmy DeVoe? He's the second leading driver at the Saratoga harness race. She cut her teeth on harness, this girl, but she married Donato Lani, and Donato Lani must have some money. He picks out these horses for her, and all of a sudden, Sherry DeVoe has some nice horses. When she says this is the best horse in her barn, this is the 3 horse I'm talking about. She's probably right. I believe her. She'd be my top pick. She doesn't get many $280,000 horses that go to her barn. So I would have great respect for her. The other thing is, and Asmussen's had a quiet meet. He started about 30 horses, and he's got 15 of them have been in the money, but only 2 of them have won. But this Society horse just might be sitting and waiting. And Gaffleone, he's my guy, man. As good as Pratt's been, he's winning the big races. Gaffleone's still second to Ortiz. And I think Brown's recognizing that because he's using him more and more and more. That skill horse, Tommy, that you mentioned, I think Mike Smith got crazy because that horse bobbled at the start of the race and he rushed him up. And by rushing him up, cost him the race at the end. He had no horse at the end. I don't know if Mott could have been real happy about that. But I give you the 3.
I mean, that's when you put Mike Smith on a horse, you gotta expect that you're gonna get a bad ride. So I mean, that's on Billy Mott.
Yeah, I got you. Understood.
All right, Jason.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go 3 deep here. You have to use the 3 Vava. I mean, the favorite. She's not gonna be my top pick though. I'm like you guys. I'll make the 5 Scylla for Mont Castellanos my top Castellano, my top pick. I love that she's cutting back. Horse is versatile. The thoroughgraphs, point to maybe a jump up. So, but I'm gonna, as my third choice, I'm gonna name a horse you guys didn't bring up, and that's gonna be the 7 A Seed for Brown and Pratt. She has a nice ascending buyer pattern, and then her thoroughgraphs also show that she may improve here in this cycle. She should sit off the speed, and Pratt and Brown. I'm going to give her a shot. I'm going to throw her in. So in order, I like 5, 3, 7.
Okay, moving on to race 11, the 7 furlong Fuego for the boys. So pretty much same race as for the boys. This one I found to be I don't know, I personally found this to be the toughest maybe of the sequence. Jimmy D will give you the honors.
That right now, I got to find the 11th race. One second.
All right, I mean, I'll kick it off. I have it. I honestly didn't have a strong opinion on any of the horses that I pick. I thought that Mulligan obviously is the deserving favorite, the 6th horse, but I don't see why that horse can't be beaten. I mean, I'll just go through my numbers. I had 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. The 2 is oh god, cats are jumping out. The 2 with the ran 2 0 negative by thoroughgraphs, which I thought was interesting in defeat. Now I know those races came back pretty fast, but it's a horse that'll be close to the front end. Ran 2 big thoroughgraphs. So I mean at 15-1, and I think might even go up. It's hard to leave off the ticket. The 1 Gun Pilot for obvious reasons. I mean, honestly, Gun Pilot's the horse that if somebody were to say talk me off that horse, I would have no problem doing that. I just threw in because I was already 4 deep at that point at 3-1 morning line. And then Baby Yoda. I really don't like this horse. I really don't. I find ways never to like this horse. But he is 4-7 at Saratoga. He definitely loves Saratoga. The one thing with him one reason why I was going to be off him, when he gets off form, he falls off form for a little bit before he finds it again. You look back to his patterns, but that jockey switch from Eric Kinsella to Tyler Gaffalione is the reason why I ended up throwing in Baby Yoda. And then the 8, another Sherry DeVoe, Cagliostro with Junior Portuguese. You look at the horse since adding blinkers 3 back, it looks like a completely different horse. Ran 3 pairs of a 1-2 thoroughgraph, so definitely has room to keep going. So I was 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, but you could talk me off the 1. Jimmy D?
Yes, sir. Tommy, we always talk about a horse for a course, and everybody in this broadcast that's ever talked horses mentioned that, and myself included. And there was a horse the other day called Ministrel, 12.5 claimer, no big deal. He was a $700,000 purchase, but a 12.5 claimer he was running it. He was 5-2, which is probably a steal in a race like that. But his form was way off, absolutely way off. And, he was flying around. He was at Tampa, he was at Keeneland, he was at Belmont. He wasn't winning. He comes to Saratoga and he works out and he throws a bullet work. The second workout at Saratoga, he's like 2 of 17. He goes off 5-2 in that race, as I mentioned. He was 1 for 1. He had broke his maiden at Saratoga, actually a couple years back. It's a 5-year-old. But he comes back to the second race he ever runs at Saratoga, and he wins convincingly. Pays $770, no big deal, but the exacta was $82. The try was $213. Why do I say all that nonsense? It's because there's horses for courses. That's all there is to it. I believe it more up here than I've ever believed it in the 27 years that I've been alive. But Baby Yoda is my first choice here, and for that reason, Cancel had a wide trip in the last race. He made that horse run 2 times the distance it should have ran, and he was still trying. He was only 6.5 lengths from the lead in the Alfred Vanderbilt. I think the horse, Mott's got him right where he wants him in this race. The jockey changed to Leone is light years away from Eric Cancel, so he would be my top choice. Again, I'm looking for Asmussen to bust through with some big horses, and Gun Pilot would be my second choice in this race. I don't like the favorite in that race, so my third choice would be that the Cheray, God forbid I say her name wrong, DeVoe, and that would be Cagliostro. I'll say the horse's name wrong, but I think that horse is coming in rounding into form right now. Been working out real well. Had a couple bullet workouts, and I think it's got a shot for a price, or at least get on the board. But Baby Yoda would be my choice in the race.
Okay. Jason?
Yeah, this is a spread race for me. I don't have a strong feel at all. I could, I'm going to be using all. I'll just give you a little hint of what I'm going to do later. But I'll give you a top 5. I mean, I'll have to say the 6, Milliken, is my tepid top pick. Pairing ones on the thoroughgraph, make a jump from there. 8, Cagliostro for DeVoe and Ortiz. Jose Ortiz is my second choice. He tripled ones and, has a slight cutback here. So I think he's definitely live. Obviously, the 1 Gun Pilot could win. I thought the 5 Run Classic can win. I agree with Tommy. The 2 Twisted Ride paired negative zeros on the thoroughgraph. But again, I could probably make a legitimate case for every horse in this race. So I'm going to go all, but I just laid out those 5 for this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a race where they're all good horses in this race. There's no great horses. So,
Yeah, I mean, you can make a case for every horse in this race.
all are capable of throwing out. Chalky?
Yeah, I feel like I should pick Baby Yoda since the Phillies got 2 hits in a row and an RBI because I never picked Baby Yoda. So I'm still not going to pick Baby Yoda. It's a spread again for me, and I'm on the same kind of mindset of Tommy. It's the first race where I'm going to try to beat the favorite, so I'm not using the 6. But the 1 Gun Pilot, you talk horse for course. He did not run great in his 1 Saratoga. I don't know if that was if he didn't like the track but if you look at his thoroughgraph pattern, it was progressing. So that he was primed for a possible bounce. He went from, to -0, -2, bounced up to a 2. If he can run back after that, he can obviously win the race. I had the 5 Run Classic for Tim D'Angelo. He can get the good horses ready to go. No, that's a different D'Angelo. Excuse me, misread that. But I thought that one at I think it's gonna be a little more than 5-1. But that could be worth a shot. And then I had the 7 Anger, Irad and Bauer. Bauer doesn't run a lot, but man, he wins when he runs. He's and I don't know. I did not get a chance to run the formula to see how his graded stakes numbers are at Saratoga, but otherwise his graded stakes have been small sample size, but doing well. And then DeVoe, the 8, you guys talked about already. So 1, 5, 7, 8 for me in this.
All right, so definitely a spread race for everyone there. All right, let's move to race 12. Some always look forward to this race. Some may even say this is one of the best races on the day besides the Travers, if not even better than the Travers. Got some good news yesterday as the 8 Bookham Dano is running in this race. I know they were the owners were contemplating going to Charlestown. I guess that maybe the Classic is this weekend or next weekend. But no, according to a tweet I saw, he is supposed to be running in this race, so it makes it a little more interesting. Jason, you're up for the Jerkins.
Yeah, here's where I'm going to take my shot. This is going to be my key horse in this sequence, and I'm singling Prince of Monaco to 5 for Baffert. This horse was by far the best in that Woody Stevens. Had a lot of trouble in that race, got bumped, had a bad trip. He's going to get pace to run into in this race. Has nice thoroughgraphs. Like I said, there's going to be many horses I see up on the pace here. And I love the setup for him. I'm taking my shot here with the 5 Prince of Monaco as my single.
All right, and I'll go second as I go second when I echo what the first person says, and I'm gonna also single Prince Monaco here, the Baffert horse. It's for a couple reasons. One, if you don't single Prince of Monaco, I have no idea who's gonna win this race. I mean, you're almost going 11 deep. Any of them could win, could jump up and win. Couple of thoughts though. The 1 world record, that race is a mirage. I mean, that race came out of nowhere, ran on a golden rail and just exploded. You go back to the other races, the thoroughgrass, he's running 5s and I'll run all of a sudden bust out a -1. So I think that was a product of the golden rail. The 2 lightly raced, I think is going to be up against a little bit. 3 domestic product. Pratt had the option, I would think, between Broussette's horse and this one, and chose this one. So definitely a big shot. Buccadano has been the underdog story. Jefferson Street ran a huge number 2 back. But again, Prince of Monaco, and Jason said he has pace to run into, but he also is not going to be that far off the pace. I think he's going to be right second place. I mean, the Woody Stevens was not the typical running style way back. That was just a horrific trip. Now the only reason why, and it is a single for me, and I'm going to let Jimmy D maybe rant. Hopefully he agrees with me. He's as the resident Saratoga jockey expert. John Velasquez needs to retire. He is horrific. He's a horrific jockey at this point in his career. Jimmy D, thoughts?
I'll tell you what, Tommy, and my wife can corroborate this. John Velasquez only wins from the front or he wins from the outside nowadays. He's riding very cautious races. I can't see.
And he has no strength. I've seen him get outworked at the wire every single time.
You're right. And there's no question about it. I've been complaining about him. He's not going to be that boutique rider like Mike Smith has been for the last couple of years. Because I don't think he has the same drive. That you got to have that fierceness as it is. But, he doesn't have it anymore. He obviously doesn't have it. He can rate a horse sometimes. It's a little bit of a clock in his head, but I don't want to take away from the greatness that was Johnny V, but he's a different jockey now. And one thing that Jimmy D always says, and this is from years past, I always admired the guys that went out on top, not the guys that struggled at the end of their career. That to me, that includes Frank Sinatra, who was, the chairman of the board. I don't care what field we're talking about. Go out with a little dignity when you're still thinking or still riding or still singing well. Don't go out when you're just a shell of yourself. Agreed, Tom.
So you don't think Steve Carlton should have pitched for the White Sox and the Twins?
No, sir. No, sir.
And we're seeing it. I mean, the Mike Smiths, the Johnny V's, the Frankie Dettori. They still win, but they're riding horses that I could almost win on half the time, and they're still only winning 50% of those races. It's not like they're moving horses up at this point. It's just, I guess Baffert didn't have many options. Who was left? I guess everybody might have been spoken for, but I mean, a horse like this, if it's not Johnny V, I think it's a stone cold slam dunk. And I'm still singling, but Johnny V definitely scares me a tad there. Jimmy D, we'll let you keep
I'm
going.
going to keep going, and I know what I just said, and it's not a single for me, but my top choice would be the 5 Prince of Monaco. Pratt's been the go-to for a lot of traders. I have been up here a lot of years. There's not many of them where Baffert didn't ship a horse in and win a big race. This might be the one he's looking for, the Alan Jerkins. And by the way, how could you rename this race, Alan Jerkins? As much as I respect him as a trader, it was called the King's Bishop. What a cool name that is. And guess who trained the King's Bishop? Alan Jerkins. What a better tribute to him than to leave the damn name alone rather than the H. Allen Jerkins that the normal person don't know who the hell they're talking about. But anyhow, with that said, Prince of Monaco would be my top pick. I think these horses, when they get in the starting gate, they must look at each other and say again, because they run up against each other so many times. You know, my second choice, I'd go to Timberlake. There was big hopes for him from Bob Cox early in the year. It really didn't pan out. He's back to a 7th furlong. Maybe this one turn is his distance. Maybe he's got a big race still in him. We'll see. He's looking for that grade 1. We'll see if he gets it here. And the Bookham Dano horse, only because I'm the horse for the course. And he's won here, and he's coming back. He won over the Belmont Stake weekend, and he's coming back this weekend. I think I'd have to put him up there with a shot. So with me, it would be a spread 5, 6, and 8.
All right, Chalky.
Spread as well, but it's not going to matter. I'll be knocked out by this point in the race in the sequence anyway. I'm not using Prince of Monaco. I'm not using the Baffert Chipper in this case with Johnny V. My top pick would be the 3 Domestic Product. Pratt takes that mount obviously over Prince of Monaco, who he rode in the Woody Stevens.
Whoa. Before he took the mount because Brown has 8 trillion horses for him to ride in Naira. And Baffert has
the mount for whatever
no
reason.
horses
He's got the mount.
So he's going to go with the trainer that he's going to get mounts for, not the guy that
No,
ships
he's got the mount, but if the horse gets in any trouble, do you think Johnny V is going to be able to pull?
No. I'm just correcting your. He chose.
I'm sure if he really wanted to ride Prince of Monaco, he could have rode Prince of Monaco. But for other obligations and everything else, he's on the horse, the brown horse. But anyway,
I'm not saying that's clearly better than Johnny V.
Yeah,
that's established.
Of course. But anyway, so we've seen this before. This horse's sire, Practical Joke, ran in the Derby, cut back in the Dwyer, and then ran away in I think it was the King's Bishop back then. I don't think they had changed it to the Jerkins. So this horse does the same thing. Runs again. Did he beat a lot in the Dwyer? No, probably not. But it's probably what Practical Joke isn't throwing 1.25 mile horses either. And I think this is probably what the horse wants, and I think he'll be right off the lead and maybe get first run on the pace horses. So the Domestic Product would be my top pick. And I'm going to go against what I said before with the bounce, and I'm going to throw the one in there lightly, only because if this horse is a freak, I think he's primed for a bounce. He would be like a C, but I won't leave him completely off. Bookham Dano is one. I mean, for us, it's more of a personal favorite play, but 3 in a row on the ones on the Fairgraph. Jason and I got a chance to talk to the owner after they won the Woody Stevens, and I was surprised they ended up going here because one of the guys was talking how much about they liked Irad on the horse and that Irad liked the horse, and Irad is not obviously on in this race. And the Charlestown race it's not the classic, but it's a race that's worth the same. He's a gelding. This is not for stud fees. Like, this is a smaller group out of Jersey. They win the same money whether they run here or at Charlestown. So the fact that they're staying here, to me, means that they believe that the horse really has a chance. And then the other one would be Jefferson Street, who did not run as well last time out, but he's run a bang-up race on this track, so that's a horse for a course. And, model have him ready, we'll see. So 4 horses in this one without Timberlake or Prince of Monaco.
All right, let's wrap up this pick 5 and Travers weekend with the race that we all came to hear about. It is the Travers. Jimmy D or Chalky, you guys always know what number is this?
155.
155. The 155th Travers Stakes, I guess. Grade 1 event. I'm gonna leave it open. Whoever wants to jump in and is so confident in their pick can go first, and we'll know by whoever jumps in who's confident in their pick. I'm gonna let you guys decide. It's not me.
I'm very confident, but I think we should let Jimmy D as the legend.
I'm very confident
of Saratoga.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. And I'll be judged by, as the thousands of listeners that we get. And I have a lot of friends that like to listen to this. And by the way, they're eating that pizza is delicious. Anyhow, I'm just going to say this. Since 2002, there has been 8 horses that won the Jim Dandy and also won the Travers. You remember them. And I'm not going to, Epicenter, Essential Quality, it was Palace Malice, Outfield, and then the Dead Heat with Golden Ticket, Street Sense, Bernardini, Flower Alley, Magno D'Or. That is a 36.36%. 8 from 2002. Anytime you can get a 36% characteristic in a horse race, you got to go with it. I absolutely love the filly in this race. I love her, but I can't bet her. I think Fierceness wins this race. They're going to tell me about Sierra Leone's close, and this is 1.25 miles. She was a 1.125 runner. I watched Fierceness once he got himself right down that stretch in the Jim Dandy, and he's crazy, this horse. I know sometimes he don't show up, but once he got himself right, if they would have run around again, he would have beat Sierra Leone by 20 lengths. Once he gets his stride, he's the best 3-year-old in the country. I said this when we were predicting the Jim Dandy. It was the one time I think I was right all during the weekend, all season long. And that would be my top best bet of the day. And I normally don't do that in Travers because it's an unpredictable race. And seriously, I'll be rooting for the Torpedo Anna because it's a great story. The girls are going to wear pink. They're giving out hats. It's a big deal. It's going to be mobbed because of this tremendous, tremendous filly. But I can't pick her because most of these other horses have run better races with better buyers and better speed figures than her. I think she's overmatched. She may be looking for Horse of the Year. I don't know. She stumbled out of the gate in the coaching club, American Oaks, and still won that very easily. Sierra Leone, I'll give my whole spiel here. We'll be closing at 1.25 miles. Should be running real well, real late. Fierceness should have nothing but clearance in front of him. My third horse, you got to hand it to Dornock a little bit. He won here on Belmont weekend, Belmont race, and then he went to Haskell and did the same thing. But I don't see it with that horse. I think they got lightning in a bottle with that horse. I don't see him going any further. You could say that $2.3 million purchase for Sierra Leone is going to pay off at some point in time. Think about that. Torpedo Anna, it's the talk of the town, was $40,000. Sierra Leone, who's trying to win one, is $2.3 million. It tells you all you need to know about horse racing, guys. It's an unpredictable sport. Normally on a Travers Day, I know we haven't really done that, but on a Travers Day, bombs away. It's a very unpredictable day. It's a day that you can lose a lot of money or win a lot of money. But to go back to the topic at hand, Tom, I tell you, I like Fierceness, and I like Fierceness a lot.
Okay, and I'll go second here because I'm fairly close. You said you look at buyer figures and Torpedo Anna doesn't really stack up against the sources. So I'm not a big buyer guy. When I understand them, but I like the Thoroughbreds. If you look at Thoroughbreds, she runs the same numbers as the boys in the Thoroughbred. She matches and she does it much easier, much effortlessly races now. The horses she's facing, you can argue, the horse Candy just came back and finished by a photo finish. Got bumped around in the stretch. Probably should have won the race, but definitely the fillies aren't as strong. But her speed, pure numbers, when you look at Thoroughbreds, are the same as the boys, with the exception of one horse, and that's Fierceness. But Fierceness has the issues of on again, off again, good race, bad race. So you don't know if Fierceness is going to show up. I don't know if the outside pros benefits Fierceness or doesn't benefit Fierceness. I mean, he's going to have to go, but now not having a horse next to him when he breaks might also benefit. I'm going to go with Torpedo Anna as my top pick. but I am going to use Fierceness as a backup because that is the one horse that if he shows up, I think he's just a lot better than the rest of these horses. We said it in the Derby, and he didn't show up. He showed up in his last race. So the pattern says he won't show up today. Again, Johnny V is on a horse that I'm talking about. Although I don't think Johnny V's been the problem with this horse. I think this horse is just a whack job, like Jimmy D said. But I am going to go with Torpedo Anna, and that was a horse that I was very against prior to seeing speed figures and seeing the field. Sierra Leone will probably be on the board, but not going to win the race. I mean, that horse is what was the other brown horse that ran the exact same race?
I said the Jim Chalky the same thing basically that, and I can't think of the horse's name.
Jimmy Chalky, you don't remember that horse? I mean, come on, didn't it run second at the center? Yeah, it ran second.
Yeah. I came up with the name eventually, and now I'm blank. Won the Bluegrass, I think, that year.
Yes, that's exactly
my co-favorite in the Derby. Ran third.
Same exact horse. You're right.
Yeah,
same exact horse. And I think
I'm gonna look it up while we talk.
That's how Vekoma is.
No, Vekoma was the paddler. No, and we chased the horse in the Derby. We chased the horse in the track. I think Epicenter we had, but we pretty much. And then finally won a race that was like a mile crap race, and it was a great race. And he finally won.
Zandon.
But needless to say, that's Sierra Leone. Do you get it, Jimmy?
Zandon.
Zandon. Yeah, Zandon. That horse is Zandon. Door knock, same thing. One horse I found interesting, maybe to finish in the number, was the 6 Anna Marie Anna Blankers. I know a lot of people like the horse in the Derby, like the horse again. In the Belmont, didn't run terribly in the Belmont, Adam Blankers, so maybe finish the number. But long story short, Torpedo Anna is my top pick, and a backup with Fierceness just in case he does finally show up for this. We'll go to Chalky, and we'll let Jason end the show with his pick.
So, 2 horses. I'm going to break the cardinal rule of speed on dirt and make Sierra Leone my top pick. And I just think there's going to be enough pace up front like you had in the Derby. And this is an 8-horse race as opposed to a 20-horse race. So even if he lugs a little bit, there's less chance of him getting in trouble or bumping into horses or doing it over. He came up just short in the Derby. He got drifted out, intentionally or not, in the Belmont, so he couldn't run down Dornoch there. I'm going to say he'll get it done today against most logical thinking, probably. But I'm going to put him on
Jimmy,
top.
I want to say something real quick. It's going to be real mean. It's going to come off pretty offensive.
Well, we don't need to get to that then. So my second pick will be Torpedo Anna.
I just want to say, picking Sierra Leone is the most novice handicapping horse that you could pick in this race. Meaning, you look at paper, you see speed, and you immediately go to the closing, the horse that closes the bet, and the distance is getting my. I'm not saying you did that. I'm just saying as a whole.
Well, I don't think much of these 3-year-olds. So I think Dornoch, the main reason Dornoch won the Belmont was because he said fractions that were much easier than the Derby. He was on the lead, and they couldn't run him down. I don't think Fierceness is going to let him do that if Fierceness comes to run his race. I don't think much of Dornoch. And as I said at the Belmont, if this horse wins, you can put on my tombstone, he's just not fast enough. So that's already set in stone. I don't think he's fast enough, even though he keeps winning. But Torpedo Anna, I was going to, even though I've been texting Jason saying, well, she would have won this race and she would have won that race against the boys throughout the last couple months, I wasn't really leaning towards using her. But then when you, again, looked at the speed figures, particularly the thoroughgraphs, she's as good as anybody except for Fierceness. And I'm not counting on Fierceness to run back to the last race because he hasn't put 2 good races together in a row. And I was like, well, the breeding, she hasn't run a mile and a quarter. Well, her Tomlinson isn't any worse than most of these other horses, and some of them have run a mile and a quarter, but they're not running really well at it. So maybe she's not beating much, but I don't think much of the Colts. So I think she'll be there, and maybe she doesn't get there in the end, but I'll take her as second and go against the 7 and the 8 in this case.
All right, Jason. Travers weekend, you get to finish it off.
So I think this is a great race. I really do. And I have an opinion on 2 horses, and then I'm gonna throw a third in, similar to you guys. So I really think Chad Brown is winning this race, right? Now, obviously, the race looks like it sets up perfectly for the 2 Sierra Leone. You know, you could say the 3, 5, 7, and 8, and maybe even Torpedo Ann at a 1 will all be forward at the very least, right? And I'm not a huge fan of closers on dirt, but I mean, you can't say the race doesn't set up for this horse. So I'm going to use him again, but I think Chad Brown wins his race. My second choice is going to be the 3 Unmatched Wisdom. Um, Thoroughgraph patterns are pretty good for this horse, so he could jump up, right? And hear me out with this, and I might be crazy in thinking this, but if all the jockeys look at the PPs of this race, is there any chance that they all maybe take back a little bit and don't go to the lead? I don't see this 3. I don't see any chance that this 3 doesn't go to the lead. It's Chad Brown's other horse.
I
His
think the
other
horse
Yeah,
in
he's
the
a
race
rabbit.
to go to
Yeah.
the lead. Yeah, I think he's a rabbit for sure.
could be rabbit, but he's a pretty good rabbit.
He could
I mean,
stay.
he's a
There's no
good
question,
horse.
Jay. He could stay.
Yeah,
He
it's
could
four. It's
stay.
four. He's only his 4th race of his career. I mean, it's tough to win the Travers.
It's tough, but
Yeah.
if everybody
Go a
else,
mile and a quarter.
if these jockeys are all looking at the PPs and saying, "All right, Dornock's going to lead, and Fierce is going to lead, and Unmatched Wisdom's going to lead, and you know, whoever that other horse, Batten Down's going to go to the lead." I don't know. Crazier things have happened, so I'm using that horse, right? So, and then my third choice is, uh, I was the same as you guys. Like I couldn't wait to bet against Torpedo Anna in this race until I saw the thoroughgraphs, and she's just as fast as these other horses, right? Um, I don't know. I mean, she could jump up and improve and win this race if she could rate, right? If she could rate, if she goes out to the lead with all these other horses, she's not going to win. So, and then I also like the 7 Dornox thoroughgraphs, and he likes to fight down the stretch. But I don't know about the speed in this race. I don't know about him staying on. So, um, I'm I know you guys like fierceness. I'm totally against this horse in this race, and I could be dead wrong, but Fletcher did not want to run this horse in this race. He said it after the last race. He said this horse needs a lot of time between races. You know, he loses weight, whatever he does. You could see it on his numbers, on his thoroughgraphs. Every other race he runs.
Mindframe was going to be their horse in this race if he didn't get hurt.
Right. And Rapoli wanted to be in this race. So, and you look at his numbers, and every other race, he runs a good race, he runs a bad race, he runs a great race, bad race, great race. But he's on that, he's on that pattern. He just ran, 4 or 5 weeks ago. I'm taking a shot against this horse. I could be wrong. I mean, he's got the best numbers when he runs his race. I'm taking a shot that this is not going to be the race that he's going to run his big race in. So, 2, 3, 1 are my horses in this race.
Yeah, I think I saw something, maybe DRF had it, where Torpedo had it. They had to change up her training because she's she's so amped up right now. And,
Yeah, she might go to the lead. She might try to go to the lead.
ready
What
to
happened,
just
what
fire.
happened, Tommy, just to clear that up, is that McPeak wanted to give her some gate work because she stumbled at the gate coming out of the coaching club of America Oaks. And he was at the Oklahoma track, and he told his jock to pull her up at the gate, and then we'll go into the gate and do a little gate work. She was doing a gallop. But once she gets going, he couldn't pull her up. So she was well past the gate. And so they just walked her back, put her into the starting gate, and just let her stay there. They never break from the gate. That was that little confusion. I don't think it's going to matter. No.
Okay.
Like I said, she's hard to root against, Torpedo Anna. She really, really is. The only thing I'll say, Jason, about that fierceness thing, and you're right, and Tommy's right too. He's crazy. He's a whacked out job. But when he stays where he's at, when he doesn't travel, when he's not shipped,
Yeah.
he's a different horse. Here we go again, back to that. He feels at home. That's why I'm strong on him. That's and again the Jim Dandy factor, winning back to back. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
All right, before we wrap up, it's pick 5, ticket time if you have one. I actually didn't even put piece one together yet. I got a late start. I mean, I want to wait and see what with the scratches and stuff. But Jason, you have a ticket?
Yeah, I have a little more expensive ticket than I usually put out there, but this is the Summer Derby. It's a big race week, so I'm okay with it. So race 9, just the 2 horses, 2-4. Race 10, I'm going to go 3, 5, 7. Race 11, I'm going all. I'm using all 8 horses. Race 12 is my single to 5, Prince of Monaco. And then race 13, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 in the Travers. So for 50 cents, that's $72.
Chalky?
So for the pick 5, that would be 2 with 3, 5 with 1, 5, 7, 8 with 1, 3, 8, 10 with 1, 2. That's $32 for 50 cents.
All right, and Jimmy D, did you have
I
a
do.
ticket?
A 50-cent ticket, pick 5, 2 and a 4, as we've all said repeatedly. I would put the 3 and a 4 in the second race. I'd spread a little bit in that third end of the pick 5 at the 4, 1, 8. Then go to 5, 6, 8, and 2, 7, 8. So that's 2, 4, 3, 4, 4, 1, 8, 5, 6, 8, 2, 7, 8. 50 cents, that's a $54 ticket. A little expensive for my taste, but it'll be worth it when we hit it. Guys, just I know I don't get an opportunity to talk to you, and I always like to appear with you guys. Since it's the Travers in the end of the season, I just want to leave you with this. The last words from Jimmy D for temporarily, hopefully. Saratoga, a passionate lover and a sworn nemesis. Love to see her come, hate to watch her leave. Ponies win and ponies lose. Money comes and goes. Mostly, it just goes. Whether hobnobbing with the suits in the 1863 Club or slumming with Jimmy D and L&M. We're all here for the same thing, really, mostly thrills and laughs and horses. When the party's over, back to Philly or downstate New York, wherever you're from. See you next year, our friend, our summer friend, my lovely foe, my bewitching glow. Saratoga.
Episode 121, Broad Street Hustle.